Space. Complete emptiness. For some, it is a safe area for people to vent their feelings and for their ideas to take flight. For others, the complete embodiment of fear. A giant area where no one can hear you scream. A cold and dark abyss. For me, it's the very setting to one of my all-time favorite games. What is that game, you ask? Are you serious? You saw the title, didn't you? And the thumbnail? I mean, whatever. We're talking about Super Mario Galaxy. This is Super Mario Galaxy, a game that uses its floaty controls to its advantage. Unlike a certain other game, a game that had so many unique ideas that it had to be split into 2 separate games, and even then, not all of the ideas were used. There are over 100 unused assets in Super Mario Galaxy alone. There are even videos showcasing and discussing them. Maybe some of these even popped up in your recommended from time to time. To save you the trouble of looking, I'll put some in the description of this video. The reason that I find most likely for these ideas being unused is when the concept of Super Mario Galaxy first came into Nintendo's heads, all the way back in the GameCube era. Speaking of GameCube, one might even consider Super Mario Galaxy to be the sequel to Super Mario Sunshine.
In one sense, this is the first worthy successor to Super Mario 64.
Anyway, with the origin aside, what's my opinion on this game? Why don't we take a look at it? I'll split the video into 3 separate categories: story, gameplay, and my personal enjoyment. All of which are worth 5 points. I'll rate them at the end of each segment. And without further ado, why don't we take a look at... The story goes like this. Peach sends Mario a letter telling him to come over to her castle because she has something to give him. Boy, this sounds awfully familiar. Mario follows this blindly, seeming to not recognize any of the other bad stuff that's happened every time he came over to Peach's castle. I know common sense doesn't exist in Super Mario, but you'd think he'd be like, hey, I'm noticing a pattern here. Anyway, she wanted to invite him over for this whole Star Festival thing that happens every 100 years. Everything seems to be going as planned until Bowser attacks. Yeah, standard Mario stuff, until you see he comes over with a frickin' UFO. How did he get that? Nobody seems to care anyway, so I guess it doesn't matter. In a very serious climactic attempt to stop the princess from being kidnapped, Mario tries as hard as he can. Just look at him go. You see that? That's the look of a driven man right there. Unfortunately, all of his efforts are stopped because Kamek blows him into outer space. With no air to breathe, Mario was stuck, stranded floating in outer space. With no one to save him, this is the end. The climactic finale to the Super Mario series. The end of the mustachioed... Oh wait, never mind, he's fine. He wakes up, somehow without his head blown up. And this star baby-like thing comes up to him and says, hey, you're awake, let's see if your legs work. As he races you over to his friends, and they challenge you to the ultimate game of hide and seek. Boom, we're done. Next. After you catch all of them, they take you to their so-called mama. She introduces herself as the famous Rosalina. She says that she was stopped by an evil force. This so-called evil force had stopped their forward movement through the cosmos that they do every 100 or so years. Psst, this goes right with the Star Festival. It makes so much sense. She gives you one of those star baby things, which are called Lumas. It goes into your hat and gives you the ability to spin into enemies. And that is where the game begins. You set out to the first galaxy and claim your first grand star. Once the Grand Star is collected, you fly back to their Comet Observatory, and it flies into a fiery beacon? I don't even have a joke for that. It just ended itself. Okay then. It lights up a part of the lookout, Rosalina talks to you for a bit, and then the free roam starts. Well, not necessarily free roam. You still have to go through one of these domes, and even then you can't really explore that much. But who cares? By the way, let me just say, Kami's Lookout looks way cooler even though it's more empty. On another side note, how do you think Mario can breathe in space before getting the Luma? I asked one of my friends this and he said, quote, "I for one think Mario is a god who rules over all of us in secret, never present, but always judging." You can thank my good friend Lo for that. I'm certainly not. I guess you could say that all the planets coincidentally have the same breathable air that Earth does, but oh yeah, I forgot, this was a Mario game. Anyway, back on the subject of the story, you have to pick up all of these power stars and these grand stars from the boss galaxies to power her lookout. And then, that is when the game starts. For real this time. I'll just speed through this part. Open the terrains, you see a bunch of galaxies, but some of them have numbers on them, so you can't go to them yet. So you go to the only open one, which is Godad Galaxy. You pass the first level and you get a gold star. You pass the next level and get another gold star. Keep doing this until the next galaxy is open. The next galaxy is open. Congratulations, it's Honey Hive Galaxy. And you do the exact same thing as you did in Godad Galaxy, but this time the first level isn't a boss. Keep passing levels and getting gold stars until the big boss level is open. You go to the big boss level and defeat the boss and get a big gold star. And then it flies into the beacon again, and then another dome is open. Keep doing this until the story completes. And every so often you get a cutscene that adds nothing to the lore except for the story time, which is actually surprisingly dark. Haha, yeah guys, it's Mario, do the Mario, right. Anyway, now you've made it to the climactic finale of the Super Mario Galaxy story. The final face-off with Bowser himself. This all takes place in the center of the universe. All could crumble if Mario fails. Once you beat Bowser, you get the final Grand Star. But it turns out Bowser doesn't know how to build planets, and everything is blowing up around him. And then this giant black hole appears. And wow, I was too young to understand the ending of this, but now that I'm older, just take a look at this ending. Where was I? So all of the Lumas, including yours, fly into the black hole and blow it up in this Majin Buu level explosion. And apparently, all is reset. As if nothing happened at all. But you remember, don't you, Mario? Of course you remember. Things go back to normal, and they have their Star Festival, and everybody lived happily ever after. This story is probably Galaxy's strong point. It's kinda dark, but it also fits into Mario. You can use the argument that it's going too dark like Sonic does oftentimes, but I don't see how you can't get dark when space is involved. You have to at least get a little dark when you're talking about a giant abyss where nobody can hear anything. Ignoring all the tedious talking cutscenes, I'd say the story is pretty solid. I give this a 3.5 out of 5.
Oh my God!
Hold it!
Now for the most important part of any game, the gameplay. He may not control like Odyssey, but Mario still is a joy to play as. The gravity is wacky, but in a good way. It fits in with the narrative that you're in space. And hey, wouldn't you guess, things float in space. The camera can be kind of finicky when it comes to switching terrains or switching planets. Take a look at this example from this user called Glow Boo. as one can pretty obviously tell, the camera and the gravity don't really work before he dies. With these kinds of problems, you'd have to go looking for them. On rare occasions do you actually find them while playing the game normally. There's only one small example of this. When you're at Good Egg Galaxy on the first planet, you can long jump from the top to the bottom, and the camera flips over, but that's not really game breaking, is it? Mario still has a multitude of different kinds of jumps he can do. You've got your classic jumps, your double jumps, your triple jumps, wall jumps, ground pound, back jump, etc. But now, like in all other 3D Mario games, we have a new mechanic. In Super Mario 64, you add an array of new power-ups that you could use to your advantage. In Super Mario Sunshine, you add the Flood with its different power-ups. And now, you have the Spin with its different power-ups. With this, you could do a spin jump and a spin ground pound. You can also spin on ice while moving to Ice Skate. The power-ups aren't that bad either. With the Bee Mushroom, you can fly. Only for a little bit, though. Spinning is also kinda useless now. And then there's the Boo Mushroom, which allows you to turn into a Boo, obviously. And it allows you to go through some different surfaces. Also, the Boos start crushing on you for some reason. It doesn't make any sense. Then there's the Ice Flower, which allows you to walk on water with ice platforms. And then there's also the classic Fire Flower, which you already know what it can do. And then there's the bane of my existence, the Spring Mushroom. You'd think you turn into a spring, but no, Mario just gets wrapped in a spring and looks very, very uncomfortable while doing so. This thing controls like garbage. This power-up by itself is my least favorite part in the game. Moving on from the most negative, we have my most positive. Aside from it being red, which is like obviously my favorite color, you can fly, also for a limited time, but not as limited as the Bee Mushroom. But there's boundaries as to where you can fly, and that's also kind of disappointing because I wanted to be able to fly to different planets by myself. And I know I'm not alone on this thought because Barry, the previous editor from Game Grumps, made a video on Galaxy himself, and he shared the exact same thing. And the second worst thing about this game is that you use the red star a total of 1 time in the entire story mode. Just once for an insignificant purple coin mission. If the developers themselves were to trust their own ideas as much as I trust their ideas, then maybe I'd score it higher. But the gameplay itself gets a 3.7 out of 5. And as much as I hate doing this, we're just gonna glance over Super Luigi Galaxy.
Bruh.
I had fun playing this game. Whether or not you consider it to be too floaty or not like any of the other 3D Mario games, I think it's one of the best Mario games out there. I enjoyed it when I was 3, and I enjoy it now. If this game were to disappear, I still haven't found a different game that would fill the hole in my heart. No matter what game comes out in the future, Super Mario Galaxy will always have a special place in my heart. And I feel the exact same love for the sequel. Maybe it's just my nostalgia, but I'm rating my personal enjoyment a 5 out of 5. With all that being said and done, if we add up all the points, Super Mario Galaxy gets a 12.2 out of 15.